What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be getting into my wild card and divisional round predictions. And I just want to say, guys, unbelievable how many views the last video got. 50,000 views. It's almost 51K right now. I was not expecting that, man. I was probably expecting around 1,000 for the video, not 50,000. Unbelievable. Thank you guys for checking out my video and making it good. Appreciate all your support. I know I didn't do great on my picks. We're going to get into that wild card picks, but yeah, just again, thank you guys. But anyway, don't know how good this one will do, but just going to give out with a bonus video here. Let's do my wild card recap here, and then we'll get into some divisional round predictions. Just the divisional round. I'm not going to be going any further. You know what my conference championship picks, which are so far still holding up, even though I kind of struggled with some of these picks. But anyway, with the first matchup in the wild card round, we did have the Cleveland Browns taking on the Houston Texans. This game was close for the start, but you just saw, man, Joe Flacco kind of struggling in that third quarter, and C.J. Stroud just freaking balling out, man. You got to give credit to C.J. Stroud, give credit to D'Amico Ryan's defense. That was a good performance from that team. And they did get the win, so I'm going to have to flip that up. The Texans did get that win. 45-14 was the final. Very frustrating if you're a Browns fan. You had a tremendous season. Just a very bad performance in that game. Houston gets a big win at home. Next game, which was probably one of my picks that was the most controversial in this wild card round. And no, that was the Chiefs versus Dolphins game. I know it was negative degrees weather, but we look at this game. Dolphins kind of hung in there in that second quarter, but the Dolphins. You guys were right. That Dolphins defense just could not, or that offense could not move the ball in that weather. It was very tough for them. The elements just. It was unfortunate for the Miami Dolphins. They just couldn't get anything going. And again, I'll admit I should have counted out Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I just thought that Dolphins talent would do it, but unfortunately it did not. So the Dolphins lose that one, Kansas City, and Patrick Mahomes get the win and move on. The next game, we had the Packers versus the Cowboys. Wow. What in the world was this game, guys? Jordan Love freaking balls out. Dak Prescott looks bad. This is just a Mike McCarthy-led football team, and we know this to be true over the past few years. It's just not a good playoff team. Not only just the Cowboys, but Mike McCarthy's done this with Green Bay in the past. I mean, he has these kind of performances where they just lay eggs, and we saw it there against the Packers. And then this Packers team, they came prepared. Give credit to Joe Barry. I said in my video that I just don't trust Joe Barry to stop this Cowboys offense. He did good. This defense was dominant in this one. Obviously the Cowboys offense struggling helps, but still dominant performance. And then Jordan Love, he was playing a really good game. Obviously, the Cowboys defense played really horrible in that game, but it was obviously enough. Green Bay played the better game. Just overall, Jordan Love hung in there. He's looking like a really solid quarterback. The Packers get a playoff win, first of Jordan Love's young career. So this Packers team, they're looking good right now. They could be a really solid team for the future, which is crazy, man. This Packers team just always seems to get that franchise guy and be a good team. But that one was a crazy one. Was not anticipating that upset. If I thought it would be an upset, I think it would have been. I would have predicted the Packers playing the game close, but not anything like that. So big upset for Green Bay. Final was 48-32 in that one, and then the game of the week here, Detroit versus the Rams. And I'll be honest, in my video, I didn't give the Rams too much credit as I should have. I said that team was a little bit fraudulent which I still kind of agree on. I think they were getting way too overhyped coming into this game. You look at the Rams corners. I mean, they're not any much better than the Lions corners. And I was seeing a lot of talk about the Lions corner struggling, but the Rams we saw in this one, they did step up in that second half, but that team just wasn't great overall in that game. But anyway, it lived up to the name. It lived up to the storyline between Stafford and Jared Goff. That Detroit crowd was rocking in that one. The Lions just looked really good. My conference championship pick looking good now for the Detroit Lions. You look at that team, played good football in that one. Defensively, that's a good team. That run defense was a big factor in that game as well. Really stopping Kyren Williams, and then they had to rely on the pass game, and it just kind of struggled for Los Angeles. So I really liked the Detroit Lions in that matchup. They played a good game. Then the next one, we have the Buccaneers taking on, or let's go over here. Actually, technically, the next one was the Bills Steelers, and this one was the one I was probably most confident on because I thought the Packers had some explosiveness. The Steelers, I just didn't think were going to upset Buffalo down there in Buffalo. And that one came to fruition. The Bills were the better team most of that game. Mike Tomlin is a coach that can hang around, but it just wasn't enough in a game like that. You look at that Buffalo Bills team, it's just a good team. Tough to stop them. So, yeah, you look at the Bills, that's a good team. Got that one right. So, after starting 0-3, I finally got one right there with the Buffalo Bills. They just clearly were the better team over Pittsburgh on really both sides of the ball. And without TJ Watt didn't help Buffalo or Pittsburgh either. So, yeah, anyway, moving on. We had the Buccaneers versus the Eagles. And this one was another weird one. I thought this one would probably be a close game. Not what we saw, though. I mean, I just underestimated how bad this Eagles team has been the past. I mean, you go back to the games versus the Niners. At least they looked good in that first half. It was a good Niners team. You go back to the game versus Dallas. That Dallas team was rolling at that point on the road. You go back to the game versus Seattle. It was a must-win game for the Seahawks. But then once you get to the next three games, going back to the Giants game where they didn't look good, that's when really some of the concerns started going for Philadelphia. And then you get to the past two games in the regular season for them with the Cardinals and then the next game versus New York, and that team just looked awful. And it showed up here. They just were not prepared. They played bad. Just one of the biggest collapses I've seen. Tampa Bay, I said in my video, Tampa Bay hasn't been great either. I still believe that, though. This Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, they just barely beat Carolina on that week. And then they just barely, then they lose to New Orleans the previous week. The other weeks, they looked very good. And we saw a part of that Baker Mayfield-led football team this week. He came to play. That Buccaneers team got a win. And it looks like Baker Mayfield probably, won over his job, at least to be the starter in Tampa Bay. I think they would be pretty foolish to move on from him after getting them a playoff win against the Eagles. Give them credit, or say whatever you want about the Eagles. They were not coached well. They were not prepared, but that team is talented and they have a lot of good players. And for the Buccaneers to whip them like that, you got to give them credit, man. So I was not expecting that performance from Tampa Bay, and I was also not expecting the Eagles to just lie down and do nothing in a playoff game. So, huge collapse over the past 6 weeks, and then, like I said, the past 3 games have been really the meat of the collapse for Philadelphia, and that's really when coaching has been an issue. If you are in a collapse, good teams, good coaching teams find ways to bounce back. They don't just continue to slide. And that's what happened to Philadelphia on the remaining part of this year. All right. So now that we're done with the wild card week recap, went 2-4 that week. But then again, I'm still looking good for my Super Bowl picks. Got Buffalo, Niners in the Super Bowl, Detroit, and the Ravens losing in the conference championship game. So Still a lot of games to be had, but the weird thing about the NFL is once you get one game wrong, like the Cowboys game, it just scrambles up the whole picture. So we got to go in here and take a look at some of these games. So what's going to be the first game of the divisional round? It's going to be Texans versus Ravens. Ravens are going to be favored by 9 points in this one versus Houston. And I'm excited to see what happens in this one. Sorry, guys. My throat's been weird lately, but yeah, like I said, I'm excited to see what happens in this one. You look at Houston. This is a team that dominates Cleveland. CJ Stroud looks phenomenal. D'Amico Ryans led a football team really well. He's got this team coached up well. It's just a good Texans team right now. I mean, it's a scary team. They could upset Baltimore in this one. I wouldn't be, I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked if that makes sense. I could see it happening, but you look at Baltimore coming off their bye week. This is a team that gets the win over or loses to Pittsburgh, but they already clinched the seed. So, coming on the bye week, that was big for them. Lamar Jackson resting up. He's got to be healthy for this playoffs. This is a big moment in Lamar Jackson's career right now to prove that he has what it takes in these big games. I believe he does. Houston, really good team. Like I said, D'Amico Ryans led a really good football team. So CJ Stroud is playing phenomenal football. I was kind of wrong on him. Very wrong on him, actually, coming into this year. He has been a dominant quarterback for that Houston team. So you really love to see that for the Texans. I think you got to go with the Ravens, though, in this one. Could I see Lamar Jackson kind of playing like the Lamar Jackson we've seen in the previous playoff appearances? Honestly, I could. And if that happens, the Ravens are in trouble because it's a really good Texans team with a really good QB who just proved he can play really good in the postseason. So, but I'm not going to count on that. Lamar Jackson's been phenomenal this season. On top of it, this defense has been just really good, especially when they can get these turnovers. If you turn it over once against this Ravens team, I don't even think you have a chance to beat this team. So, that's why I'm counting on that Ravens team. I think that CJ Stroud is going to make at least one mistake in this one that's going to cause Houston. I think it should be a close game. If I had to give a score prediction, I think it would probably be 30 Ravens to 23 Houston. So a 7-point game, or 31-24, whatever you want to say. I think the Ravens do win this one by 7. The spread is going a little bit too much in Baltimore's favor, I think, here. But I do think I would pick Houston in a game like this. Give me them to pull off the win. Then the next matchup, we have the other 1 seed going up here. The Green Bay Packers taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Who would have thought that we would have seen these two in the divisional round? I mean, that's just crazy, but Green Bay Packers, by the way, are the first 7 seed to ever move on in the playoffs, so that's fun right there. But you look at Green Bay here. This is a team that Jordan Love looked phenomenal the previous week. They got to go up against another defense here, who the Niners defense, really good. Obviously, they're really talented like the Cowboys defense. I don't think the Niners defense, though, is going to perform like the Cowboys defense did. So you look at the Niners, this is a Kyle Shanahan-led football team. It's not a Mike McCarthy-led football team. So I don't think this Niners team is going to fall down. They're going to play bad in the biggest moment here. They're coming off the bye week. You look at Jordan Love. He looked great last week. I think he's going to have his moments in this game. It's going to be tough, though, for that Packers team. You look at this Niners offense, man, it's led with a bunch of playmakers on this team, offensively and defensively here. You look at, Brock Purdy, man. Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams. That O-line's really good. it's just tough, man. It's tough when you have a defense in Green Bay who's so young. At this point, I gotta give credit to Joe Barry. I think he will come up with a decent game plan, but it won't be enough. I think that defense, is going to struggle. I am going to go with the Niners in this one. I think this one probably would be close for the first half, but as the Niners do in a lot of games, I think they're going to break loose in that second half. So give me a score prediction of like 34-20 or something like that. A pretty close game in that first half, but the Niners break away. Okay, the next game. Now we're on the Sunday games with the Buccaneers taking on the Lions here. You look at both these teams coming into this one. Tampa Bay getting a big win last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, but this time they got to go up against a team that, is hot in the Detroit Lions, not red or ice cold like the Eagles were. The Buccaneers are a red hot team. The Lions are a red hot team. They're really good, man. That secondary for Detroit is concerning. That's like I said in the previous games, if their secondary can't stop the Puka Nakuas of the world, which they gave up a lot of yards to, or the Cooper Kupps, which they actually did a pretty good job against Cooper Kupp in that game, but they might struggle against the Mike Evans and the Chris Godwins, but it's not as good of a receiving core, I think, as the Rams have down there in LA. Plus, it's being played in Detroit. That's going to be tough for Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield has to go on the road in this one. I do think Baker Mayfield still can play like a good QB, even when he's on the road, which he has kind of struggled this year on the road. You look at their losses. A few of them came on the road where he struggled. I am going to have to go with Detroit in this one. Detroit, I think, is probably pretty happy that they get to play not a Dallas team here. You look at the Lions, first conference championship for a long time. This is going to happen this is going to need to happen for the city. They really need this. Those fans deserve it at this point. I think they're going to do it. So give me the Lions to pull off the win over Tampa Bay. I don't think the Buccaneers will have quite enough in this one. And then a very good game. The final one, the Buffalo Bills against the Kansas City Chiefs. My Super Bowl pick is the Buffalo Bills. It is concerning, though, that they got to go up against the Kansas City Chiefs here, man. Whenever these two teams play, it's going to be close. No matter what teams they are, it's going to be a close game, man. Even with these Chiefs receivers, it's going to be a close game. You look at this Chiefs defense here. I really like this Chiefs defense in a matchup like this. It's going to be a cold game, as we always know in Buffalo. Not sure if it's going to be snowing. I wonder if it is. I believe it says it's supposed to be 20 degrees and cloudy, so that's interesting. It's not going to be as cold as that Kansas City game. We look at that Buffalo defense. They played well against the Steelers, got the job done. That was big for the Buffalo Bills. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs offense. Mahomes did his thing against the Dolphins. It was really that defense, though, that was the story of that game. This time they're going to have to stop a Buffalo Bills-led team with Josh Allen on the road. Do I trust that, though? It's going to be a close game, man. It's going to be a close game. It's being played in Buffalo. If this one was being played in Kansas City, I think I would take the Chiefs. The Bills, keep in mind, they just barely beat the Chiefs, so maybe the Chiefs can get this revenge, even though it's on the road. I gotta rely on my Super Bowl pick here, though. I really do trust Josh Allen. Like I said in that video, though, I think this is his year. Patrick Mahomes, he had his year last year. He had, even with the game, you look at last week, Patrick Mahomes has just not been the same QB this year. I know his playoff history is so dominant, but I'm gonna rely on what I've seen this season to make my pick here. And Patrick Mahomes hasn't been the dominant Mahomes. He has been pretty dominant, but he hasn't been the ultimate dominant Patrick Mahomes that we've seen in years past, especially with this kind of team kind of struggling. But that's kind of some of the reasons there. I am going to go with the Buffalo Bills to get the win and move on to the conference championship game. So, with those final picks, I'm picking the Niners, Lions, Bills, and Ravens here. That would keep my conference championship picks. And if we just go off of what I did last time, it would be Niners versus Bills, with the Bills winning the Super Bowl. So anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully you all enjoyed the content. This is going to be my final NFL predictions video of the 2023-2024 season. So comment down below your thoughts. Thank you again for that crazy explosion of views on my last video. But anyway, guys, peace out.